Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning for our information sharing session. Hope everybody's doing well today. For those of you that are new to our info sessions, my name is Chad Allgood. I'm the director for the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development. We're part of the Department of Human Services. I also have a few of my staff that are on here with us today, including Angela Crockett, who is the deputy director for the division. So the way that our information sessions go, we are going to begin by just sharing some updates from our office, just some key things that have come up over the last few months since our last information sharing session. We do these every quarter. We're going to share some updates with you all, and then once we finish sharing the updates with you all, we will do a question and answer session. So the way the question and answer session works is when we get to that, if you'll put your questions in the chat box, we will read through those questions and answer them um, as they pop up in the chat. We do it that way. We don't let people come off mute just because we do have a lot of people that are in here, and just for the sake of time and to cut down on confusion, we will only answer questions that are put in the chat box. So we do appreciate everybody joining us, and we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a second. Okay, so just like I said, we've got just a few things that we're going to share with you this morning, and then we'll get to the questions. So the first thing that I wanted to mention to everybody, we have had some questions come up about homelessness. We've had some families that have applied for the program by saying that they're homeless, but they have been unable to provide us with the proper documentation information that we've requested. So we wanted to do just a quick review about what our policy is on homeless families and what the requirements are to be eligible for a child care certificate as a family that is homeless. So our policy on homelessness is that the family must meet the definition of homeless that as it's established by the McKinney-Vento Act. And this is defined as a child or a youth that lacks a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. So fixed means that the place is secure, permanent, not subject to imminent change. Imminent change means that the child has or the family has a place that they are using as a, to sleep, as shelter on a fairly consistent basis. Regular, again, meaning that it is that wherever the place is, that it's used consistently, and then adequate, it must be sufficient for meeting both physical and physiological needs. So the McKinney-Vento Act goes on to give some specific examples of what a homeless situation would be. This includes children and youth that are sharing the housing of other persons due to loss of housing, economic hardship, or similar reason. These would be children or youth that are living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds due to the lack of alternative adequate accommodations. These may be children or youth that are living in emergency or transitional shelters, or that may be or that may be children that may be abandoned in a hospital. This also includes children and youths who have a primary nighttime residence that is a public or private place that is not designed or ordinarily used as a regular sleeping accommodation for human beings. This would include like living in a car, a public park, or other public space, an abandoned building, substandard housing, bus or train stations, or similar settings. The McKinney-Vento Act also defines homeless situations as migratory children, such as defined in Section 1309 of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, who qualify as homeless for the purpose of that subtitle because the children are living in circumstances that are described in the previous three clauses that I just mentioned. So situations that are not considered homeless, and this is again based on the language in the McKinney-Vento Act. Children or youth that are living in an unsafe neighborhood that is not defined as homeless. Long-term doubled up living arrangements where the family has settled into a stable long-term living arrangement and is not fleeing hardship or forced to stay due to lack of options. So an example of this would be like living with a parent or living with a friend, living with, someone, and again, in a long-term situation where there's an arrangement in place. Voluntary housing choices where persons are living in a space of their choice that is consistent and adequate. So those are situations that are not considered homeless. Just as a reminder, when families apply for a child care certificate, and if they are applying as a homeless family, we work with that family as much as we possibly can to make sure that we're meeting their needs as quickly as possible. But you all have to understand, we still have a burden of documentation that we have to satisfy. If we do not satisfy that documentation, it can be considered an improper payment, or it can be even considered us providing services to that family under false pretenses, which is considered fraudulent activity. Also, just as a reminder, any family that is not in a situation of true homelessness but tries to present themselves as such, that is considered fraudulent. If we determine that a family is trying to defraud the agency by misrepresenting their situation, again, based on our policy, that family can be subject to immediate and permanent restriction from the child care payment program. Furthermore, any individuals, including child care providers, that may have been found to either assist that family in misrepresenting themselves or even being complicit. And what complicit means is that we have reason to think that the child care provider was fully aware that the family was misrepresenting the agency and did nothing to come forward with that information. So being complicit or being an accomplice can also mean that the child care provider that is assisting that family or being complicit is also subject to immediate and permanent restriction from the child care payment program. Again, we want to make sure that we are serving every family that has a need for a child care certificate. We will work very hard to serve all the families, given their circumstances. But also remember, we take fraud very seriously as well. And we have a duty not just to our agency and not just to our federal partners, but we have a duty to you all to make sure that no one has received a child care certificate that doesn't truly qualify, because all that does is pull money from families and from providers that are serving families that truly do need this program. So another thing that we wanted to bring up, we have gotten increased traffic or increased emails from providers on behalf of parents. So this really, and listen, we appreciate that you all are working to help these families get the services that they need. However, there is a concern about protecting the confidentiality of our families, and because of that, we are no longer going to be working with child care providers to rectify issues that may come up for either parents or guardians that are applying or parents or guardians for whom a certificate is issued. So applicants or parents/guardians for whom a certificate was issued, they must contact our office directly. We have our call center number or the CC payment email address that they can utilize, no exceptions. Child care providers may not contact our office on behalf of a parent or guardian. Again, this is to protect client confidentiality, no exceptions. All parent requests submitted by any other means will be immediately routed to the DECCD eligibility team. Clients may request a supervisor case review with the eligibility representative if the representative cannot resolve their issue directly. If necessary, the supervisor will involve involve higher levels of management. So what this means is providers that contact our office on behalf of parents, we will not respond to that request. Parents have to contact our office directly. If parents do not contact our office directly, we will not work to resolve that issue. No exceptions. We appreciate that you all are trying to help the parents. But it complicates matters. We also have to ensure when this happens that you all have that the parent is okay with you all representing them, and frankly, it just creates a huge liability for us. So we are no longer going to be doing that. This is also to protect you. So if something comes up, the parents can't come back and say that you were in their business unnecessarily or you did something to mess up the process of them earning a certificate. So if parents ask you to contact us for them, you tell them no, that they have to contact our office directly. And again, we have our call center, our toll-free hotline number, and then we also have our email address that they can contact. Also, please do not tell parents to reach out directly to Angela or me. What's going to happen is I'm going to turn right around and Angela's going to turn right around, and we are going to send that directly to our eligibility team. So if there are cases where you feel that, or a parent feels that that their case was not handled directly, they can request through their eligibility representative that a supervisor review the case. We do record all phone calls. So that's another thing just to keep in mind. So if there's a situation where a parent, or if you feel, that a phone call was not handled correctly, Angela and I can review, or the supervisor can review, and then if necessary, the supervisor will bring us in. But please do not ask parents to contact us directly. Also, if you have an issue, Angela and I do kindly request that you work through our eligibility team first. We have a team of provider eligibility specialists that are trained to help you. We ask that you follow proper protocols, as it can really tie up Angela and I both when we're pulled from our other duties to resolve this issue. Again, Angela and I will get involved if we absolutely need to, but we just ask as a courtesy to both her and myself that you follow the proper chain of command when there's an issue that arises. And we do appreciate y'all working with us on that. So another thing that we wanted to mention to you is that we do have the eLedger training. And if you have not taken the eLedger training in a while, even if it's been several months, it's probably a good idea just to sign up for one of the upcoming eLedger webinars. Those are offered free of charge. The link to sign up for the training is listed right here on the screen. You can click that. And you can go in and register for the training. It's just a good idea. Also, y'all, every 6 months or so, possibly sign up for the training and take it. It's just to help make sure that you're up to date on whatever the process is for submitting your eLedgers. If there's been any change to the process, it also gives you an opportunity to ask questions if there's something that you're unsure about. It's just a good idea for you to stay up on your eLedger training. Again, just to help make sure that you're doing that, you're following through with that process, correctly. I mean, we do offer that service, and we offer those trainings regularly. Something else that we wanted to remind everyone about is to upload your sign-in and sign-out sheets along with your monthly ledger submission. If you have not uploaded your January through May 2026 sheets, please do so immediately. Now, we have had some providers that have reached out and said that they're having issues with uploading the sign-in, sign-out sheets. It's not accepting it. If you're trying to upload a large number of sign-in, sign-out sheets at once, it may reject the file. If that happens, if you will cut down the number of sign-in, sign-out sheets that you're trying to upload at once, usually that can help the situation. If you are reducing the number of sign-in, sign-out sheets that you're trying to upload and you're still having issues, again, contact our hotline, our call center, or you can email our eligibility team, and somebody will help you figure out how to get your sign-in, sign-out sheets uploaded. Something else that we wanted to talk to you all about is the wait list. So we have gotten the wait list down from 21,000 families. A couple of weeks ago, it was down to 3,729 families. We also just did a recent poll. I think we pulled 2,000, and yes. So last week we sent an additional 2,000 notifications to families to go in and apply that were on the waiting list. Now we have noticed that we are sending that we're sending out the emails to the families, and some of them are not going in to apply. Just as a reminder, we know that y'all are in contact with these families. If you have families that you know are on the waiting list, please tell them to watch their email and look for that email from us to go in and apply. Once they go in, or once they're sent that email, they have 10 days from getting that link submitted, or getting that link to get in and get their application submitted. Otherwise, the application will be voided. And huh. Right, and that needs to be their application with the required documentation. And y'all, we do that because the waiting list was, it is so extensive. We need to try to make an effort to get these families on the certificate program as soon as possible because we know that the need is great, and we're trying to get to these families that are needing child care now. So we do try to expedite the process with getting families that are on the waiting list access to an application and getting their application processed. So again, if you have families that are on the waiting list, if they're currently enrolled in your program, but that they're waiting, they've put in their email address on the waiting list, please tell them to watch their email and not to wait. As soon as they get that email, they need to go in and take action to get their application done because we do need to get their application and their documentation submitted within that 10 days. Again, otherwise the application will be voided. And again, if families are going in to apply, if they're running into issues, they need to contact our call center or our CC payment email. The last last piece of information that I wanted to share with you. So December of 2025, we made updates to our CCPP policy manual. This is the same version of the manual that we reviewed extensively with our CCPP Advisory Council. We did have the public hearing on this is that same manual, but because we had the update to the policy manual, there was a couple of policy changes, and we are going to be sending out an updated policy agreement, provider statement of agreement, excuse me. We are going to ask that you all sign the updated provider statement of agreement, that you have reviewed the updated manual that's out there on the website. We're going to be sending the email. We're going to be sending out the updated provider statement of agreement for you to sign via email, and then you can go in DocuSign and to sign the updated provider statement of agreement. So be looking for an email from us. It should be coming to you in the next few weeks. So before we go into questions, Angela, was there anything else that you wanted me to add as far as updates?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. All right, so we will get to so at this point, that's it for our updates. So anybody, if you have any questions, you can put those in the chat, and we will answer those in the order in which they come in. Just put your question in the chat, and we'll review through those.
Someone said something about the emails are going to spam folders. I put in there that we don't have control over that.
Yeah, yeah, Ms. Gilbert, if you're finding that the emails from us are going to your spam folder, you need to go into your email settings and change that to mark our email address as known. We can't control if the email is going to spam. That's something that you'll have to take care of with whoever you're using as your email provider. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just letting you know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Yes. Or Mr. Gilbert. I'm sorry. Making sure, reminding to let others know to check spam. Yes. Yes.
So I see a question. Can you hear me?
Okay. Ready?
Ready?
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
E-
Okay.
Yeah.
It says, how long does a voucher last?
Okay, so a child care certificate, or otherwise known as a voucher, it is good for 12 months from the date that it is issued. So on the date that it's issued, it's valid for 12 months. Now, if a family before the 12-month period is up, a family will receive a notice for what we call redetermination at 60 days prior to the end of their certificate terminating. They will be asked to go in and complete the redetermination process. If they successfully complete the redetermination process and the certificate is reissued, it will be reissued for another 12 months of time.
Okay. The next question, if a parent misses a signature on the sign in and out sheets, does that count against us?
Yes, it can. Our policy is very clear that we have to have a signature from the parent when signing children in and signing children out. The only time that we would allow for a staff member from the child care center to sign in a child is if like children are coming in from a school program or from like Head Start, like if you do like a school pickup or a Head Start pickup in the afternoons, we will allow a staff member's signature for those situations. But if it is a child that is on the child care payment program, staff members cannot sign the children in or out under any other circumstances. And failure to keep those signatures, it we can take action. Well, the agency can and will take action to potentially recoup that money for any because the sign in and sign out sheets, that is the verification that you provided service for that child. And we do reconcile the sign in sign out sheets with the ledgers. So if on the ledger you indicate that a child was present a certain day, we have to be able to verify that on the sign in sign out sheet.
Can I add something?
Mhm.
You have been getting calls from the agency's team when they review your ledger, asking, trying to clarify questions so that we do not recoup in error. But if you do not answer your phone, not returning phone calls, providers hanging up on staff, we've been getting a lot of that. So please know that we're actually trying to help you so that we can make sure that we're not recouping funds that you actually provided services for, but we have really been getting a lot of pushback from that. So please note that that provider team is calling because they're reviewing ledgers every month, clarifying children's attendances. So please just remember that if you get a call from our agency, call back. They're also emailing.
Yeah, and when that's happening, you can actually submit a ledger correction. And it's better to go ahead and get it corrected that way than our Office of Compliance coming in and finding that you didn't, the proper corrections were not made. So it really is better if you work with our provider team to make those corrections when they reach out.
Right. Next question.
Mhm.
Do we go to the same site to upload our sign in and out sheets as we do to fill out the ledger at the beginning of the month? The answer is yes.
The answer, yes. So the question was, do you use the same website to upload the sign in sign out sheets as you use to complete the ledger? Yes, that is correct.
Um, just to clarify, the sign in and out documents need to be a signature and we cannot pull the attendance log from Brightwheel.
So so the question was, can you use the attendance record from Brightwheel versus signatures? We do allow for digital signatures from programs like Brightwheel. Now, to clarify on that, Brightwheel does allow for initials and they allow for signatures. Signature is a signature. Initials are not a signature. we do allow digital signatures. That means it has to be a signature. An initial, a PIN number, whatever, cannot take the place of a signature. Okay. So you need to utilize the function in Brightwheel or whatever that you're using, because they can capture like a digital signature. Okay. Just make sure that it is in fact the signature, not the initials, not a PIN number. It has to be a digital version of the parent signature.
And we do know that they can do that because we have some
Yes.
providers that use that.
Yeah, and we do have providers that utilize the signature function with Brightwheel, so it does have that capability. Yes.
Does um does each person have to sign their full signature in and out, which we just said?
Yes, it's full signature. So the question was, does it have to be a full signature for the children? Yes, for children that are on a certificate, we have to have the full signature of the parent for signing in and for signing out each day.
What if the parent's signature is not legible?
Um, signatures are kind of like doctor's notes. I mean, sometimes I understand that. I will say you do need to encourage your parents to write as legibly as they can. We do need to be able to try to match the signature to the name of the parent. So even if that means they need to print or whatever, they don't need to just do a scribble line and call that a signature. Just ask your parents to, like I said, write legibly as they can when they're signing the kids in and out. Also, as a reminder, when parents apply and when they receive a certificate, they are also agreeing to follow these policies. So you're not being the bad guy when you ask them to write legibly. For us to continue to serve them, they have to follow our policies as well, and they are aware when they sign up for this program that they have to sign their children in and out each day. And so again, definitely encourage them, or you could, when I say encourage, require them to write legibly. Let me say that.
Next question, is there anything I need to do as a parent to make sure voucher remains active? Because I am really thankful to receive this service.
So as a parent that's on the program, and I'm glad to hear that you find that the program is helpful to you. You just need to refer to our policy manual as far as once you're issued this certificate, you do get 12 months of service. When you do get the redetermination notification, again, it's 60 days prior to your certificate ending, go ahead and go in and start the process. Don't wait until the last minute to get your redetermination application submitted. The sooner you start it within that 60 days, if something comes up, if like there's issues with uploading, pay stubs or updating information, the more we have in that 60-day window to make sure that we get everything submitted, the less likely you're going to have interrupted services. Okay, so we do ask that you start the process as soon as possible. Don't wait. Also, in our policy manual, like I said, you do have 12 months of service, but go into our policy manual because there are certain life events that you have to report to us if it occurs. For example, if you change jobs, if your household size changes, if you were to move out of state. These are just a few of the situations, custody situation, if a custody arrangement changes, etc. There are things that you have to report to us within 10 days of the event happening. So let's say you get a new job or you lose your job. If you lose your job, we do give you 90 days to find another job or enroll in a school program full time. But we can't honor that if you don't report it to us. So if you don't report it to us within 10 days, we cannot honor the 90-day job search. Okay. So go into that policy manual and make sure that you're reviewing those events that you have to report to us. As long as you're, staying in touch with us and being accountable, we'll work with you. Okay. So just make sure that you're looking at those policies.
This is a good question. If the parents only sign their initials as compared to their full name, do we need to go back and get all those parents to re-sign and correct all the times that they've only signed their initial? They did not know to sign their full name until just recently when this policy came out. So I am asking about all those signature pages in the past.
So the policy as far as the initial has never, it's not a new thing. We've always required full signatures. But the answer to that is yes, you do need the parents to do their full signature. We do need you to go back and ask that they do their full signature, not just their initials.
Okay. Okay, I had a parent miss one signature, but the child was present for the day. I wanted to know if there was a penalty for that error.
So if the parent, you do need to get the parent to go in. If parents are missing signatures for any days, yes, you need to get them to go in and put their signature for any days that they have not signed in and signed out. Again, parents are aware of this policy, so I know they get in a hurry, but if they are failing to sign in and sign out, then you potentially or you will pay the penalty for that. So make sure that they're following that policy.
Um, Thank you. Also, when you say parent, you are including guardian that is picking up and dropping off, correct?
That is correct. When I say parent or guardian, that's true. Now let me also say we do know that you all have an authorized pickup list. Let me say anybody that's on the authorized pickup list, their signature is fine. You just have to be able to show that that person on the child's enrollment form with you that they are somebody the parent or guardian has authorized to pick up their child. Okay, so it can be somebody else, but it has to be somebody that is authorized by the parent or guardian to pick that child up. But even that person has to put their full signature. Okay. And if you're asked, if you're like, if for some reason either someone from our team or let's say the Office of Program Compliance, if they contact you and they question a signature that is not the parent or guardian, all you need to do is be able to show on the child's enrollment application with you that that is a person that is authorized by the parent or guardian to pick up the child.
Okay. All of our parents are on one sign in and out sheet. Do we need to separate assistant children?
I mean, that's really up to you. So the question was, if you're using a sign in, sign out sheet for all parents, do you need separate sign in, sign out sheets for children that are on subsidy? That's really up to you. I mean, in terms of record keeping, it is more efficient if you have, separate sign in, sign out sheets. It makes it easier to review. For our team, for Office of Program Compliance, et cetera, that, I do recognize that that represents an additional, some additional work on your side. It's really going to be up to you. Like I said, it usually does make it simpler if there is a separate sign in, sign out sheet, but we also don't want to stigmatize those parents. We don't want them to feel singled out. We don't want them to, feel embarrassed for utilizing this program. Receiving a child care voucher is nothing to be ashamed of. These, parents that are utilizing these programs, they're working, they're in school, they are, they're being responsible, okay? And they are utilizing this service to make sure that their children not only have a safe place for them to go while they're working or while they're in school, but they're also helping ensure that their children are getting a good education from the start. So we don't want any of these parents to feel embarrassed or ostracized or anything like that. So just be aware of that also.
Okay. Um, what if the old sign in and out sheets have initials? I'm just aware of this now.
So the question was, what if the old sign in and sign out sheets just have initials? I'm just aware of this now. Again, this is not a new policy. We've always required a full signature for parents. My advice would be to try to get that corrected as soon as possible. Go back and get full signatures from these parents. Also, let me be very clear. Do not yourself or do not have any of your staff sign those sign out sheets. That is fraud. And again, fraud is something that we take very seriously. If you were doing that, you will be subject to immediate and permanent restriction from participating in the program. So I can appreciate that will take some effort. But you definitely need to get those signatures. That is not a new policy. That's been in our policy manual. Listen, when I was a director, 20 plus years ago, I knew I had to get signatures then, full signatures then. So that's not something that's new.
Please clarify absences for school-age children when the school district is closed.
So when the school district is closed, like during the summer, you can claim full time
They're present.
if the children are present. Now, if the children, because we do have our pay by enrollment in place right now, if the children are absent, you cannot claim full time. You can only claim part time for children. Like if it's a school age child, the school's closed, the child is not there, you can only claim part-time for that child, even if other school agers are there for the full day. Okay. We're not going to pay full-time for a child that would normally be in school that's not actually at your center. But if it's a school age child, the schools are closed for holidays, etc. If the child is attending your center full day, you can claim full time for that child. But now also be aware you need to be prepared to show documentation that that school district was closed for those days, just in case you are monitored or audited.
And that policy is in the part-time section of the policy manual.
Yeah, there's a part-time.
Okay. Aren't parents legally allowed to have a representative if they choose to in completing their eligibility process?
No, the not no, we do not no. Um, if there's a situation where the parent is disabled and they require like a parent, like an advocate, to participate on their behalf, that's one thing. But no, parents cannot just designate a random person to do the work for them. Now, if they are participating like in a workforce support or if it's another program that authorizes child care services outside of just an individualized certificate, that's different. But the parent is our client. Okay. The parent or guardian is our client. We have to have interaction directly with the client. Otherwise, we cannot guarantee confidentiality. So parents cannot just say, yes, I want this person to represent me. If the parent wants to have someone to join them in a phone conversation, that's different. But the parent cannot just say, this person is going to correspond with your office for me. That's not how that works. If the parent wants to call our call center and they want someone on the phone with them to help talk them through the process, that's fine. But the parent has to participate in the process. Okay.
And can I add something there? We have a lot of providers that do call in, and the call center is responding with that same thing, saying that you have to have the parent on the phone. So we just want you guys to understand that that is not something to give anybody a difficult time, but we're just trying to make sure that the parent is aware of the information as well. Because we've had several parents that have missed deadlines, and they said that the provider was supposed to assist them with putting the application in, or they just said the provider said they were going to do it, and then it ends up being a battle, and then they want us to correct the issue. So it's just best that they are aware of their responsibilities. What if someone other than the parent drops off or picks up the child?
So I answered this earlier. If it's someone else that is on the authorized list when the parent enrolls with your program, that's fine. But I would just say, and that's for two things. Again, you want to make sure that it's someone that's authorized, and you all need to make sure that you're only releasing children to people that the parent or guardian has authorized to pick up the children. So yes, someone else other than the parent or guardian that's on the certificate, that's fine for them to pick up the children or drop them off. But again, it needs to be someone that is on the authorized list that, and you should have the list of those individuals on your enrollment form that the parent filled out when they enrolled with you.
Okay. Another parent, I absolutely love this program as a mom who works 8 to 5. Thank you, Ms. Christian. What if they are no longer in your center?
So I'm assuming so the question was, what if the parent is no longer in your center? I'm assuming this has to do with filling out signatures. You need to try to contact that parent to get them to come do the signatures. Okay. If you were reimbursed for services for which you do not have a signature, the documentation of a signature on file, you need to make every effort to get those sign in and sign out sheets completed.
Right. Another parent, this is most helpful information. This program has been a huge help to me and my family. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. I don't think most of the parents are aware of the initial thing. A lot of my parents are still initialing, so I have to go back and get 5 months worth of signatures.
So parents are aware that they are required to do a signature. That is, again, that's been very clear. A signature. The words initials don't even appear in our manual. And in any court of law, and in any situation, like you cannot sign, you cannot sign legal documents with well, let me say this. They do allow initials on certain legal documentation, yes, but it clearly says initial. So y'all sign in and sign out sheets. Correct me if I'm wrong. It should have a place for a signature. Okay. And again, our policy manual has been very clear that it is a signature that's required. So yes, you would need to go back and get signatures for any situations where you have parents that have initialed. Again, I've worked in childcare for years. And like I said, even when I was a director 20 plus years ago, I knew better than to get initials, because if I had submitted sign in, sign out sheets and back then it was a local agency that worked that we submitted our documentation to. Miss Ernestine that processed my payments, she would have called me immediately and said, Chad, you can't do this. So this is nothing new. But yes, you would need to go back and get signatures.
Right. We got an e-ledger question. E-ledger's question regarding school age aftercare services. And I think we've already touched on this a little bit. When the elementary school is out and we provide full daycare services, if the child is attending, we can claim F for full day. That's correct. However, if we are open to provide full daycare services and the child is absent, we cannot claim Y for full day absences. We have to claim Z for part-time reimbursement. And what about summer care? So the same thing applies for summer. If the child is present, you claim the F. If they are absent, you would claim the Z for part-time for summer as well. We are not paying for full-time pay by enrollment for summer care for a child that is not there, that's an after schooler. So you will only be able to claim part-time. That is also in the policy manual under the section of part-time care. Okay. Is it possible to delete the sign-in sheets that we have already submitted so that we can get corrections made and resubmit?
So the question is about deleting sign in, sign out sheets once you've uploaded those. My recommendation would be to keep a physical copy for at least 3 years. Okay. That's just in case something happens. It's just a good rule of business to keep physical records. And like I said, if for any reason, once you close, if you were to close or sell your business, whatever, just as a reminder, we have to have 3 years of sign in and sign out sheets. Y'all, technology fails. If something were to happen in our system, we were not able to keep those records, just to make sure that you're able to cover yourself. I would keep the physical copies of your sign in, sign out sheets for 3 years at a time. You can purge anything that's older than 3 years, I would say.
Um, the comment.
Okay.
I would say on the signatures, I had a young lady years ago that couldn't sign a fingerprint card and was told by an attorney that signatures can only be determined by the individual writing it.
So, yeah, I understand. Like, if you're someone, if someone is being asked to clarify if that is their signature, yes, under people have to be. It's sworn testimony that is required. So, what the way that that would happen in our situation, if there is a question about whether or not a signature is authentic. We have the Office of Inspector General. These are law enforcement individuals, okay, that investigate if there's a situation where it looks like, potential fraud, etc. If there is reason to believe that signatures are fraudulent, we hold a public, or we hold a, not a public hearing, sorry, we hold an administrative hearing where a hearing officer would swear in the parent in question, and the parent would have to testify under oath whether or not that is their signature.
Um, we're getting questions on where can I find the recording for this training. Joy has put it in the comments. It's a link, so it will be posted. So just go back to our website and it'll be there under our info session.
Yeah, we have a dedicated information sharing session page, and you can access recordings of this session and all of our previous sessions there. Yeah, and thank you, Joy.
It's another one. Okay, and thank you. Can we white out the initials and get the parent to re-sign the signature? Gee,
Whether or not you want to white out their initials, that's up to you. But you just need to get the parents to sign versus putting their initials. If whiting it out and having them sign, that would be fine. I will say whiting out sometimes makes it look a little sketchy. So it might be better. It might be better just to, like, maybe I would just have the parents sign beside the initials, or maybe sign. Again, that's really up to you. But if you wanted to white it out for, if that makes it easier, then yes, that's fine. Just, again, make sure it's the actual parents that are signing. Yeah.
this question says, if you say certificate students have to be treated the same way as a paying parent, why will you not pay full time if a student is out when paying parents have to pay according if a student is full or part time, even if they are absent?
So let me say this, reimbursement for services is different than giving our parents the same respect that you would give a full pay parent. That's what I meant when I said pay them the same or treat them the same. We don't want our clients to be stigmatized because they are utilizing our program. That's what I meant in that case. We are being very generous with our enrollment based payment. And, again, if the child is there, we will give you payment for the full day. But if the child is not there, we're still going to pay you for part of the day. And I will say that differs from what the policy used to be. So when I say, treat them the same, I'm saying we need to treat them with the same respect that you treat your private pay parents, is what I meant. The link to the current regulations. So thank you. Joy put the link in there. So if you go to our website, there is actually, Joy, I think the payment policy manual is under the report section on our website. But if you go to the MDHS webpage, navigate to DCCD, and I think you look for the reports page, and I think you'll see, there you go. Yeah, Joy put that in there. So if you go to the reports dash archives, and I'm not sure why our communications team put it there, but if you go to the reports dash archives, you'll see the December 2025 policy manual, and then I think the previous manual is up there as well, just for record sake. So I see the question, can we re-upload the sheets with the corrections? Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay, that was the last question. Joyce put the answer in for the regulations.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? What if the staff are signing in the children? So I mentioned this before. The only time that we will allow staff to sign children in is if the children are coming in from school or from Head Start. So if like if you do a school pickup or if the school bus, so for example, back when I was a director, we did a school pickup where we took our van to a few different schools. We picked the children up and we brought them to the center directly from the school. In that situation, the staff can sign the children into your program. Okay. But if a parent is missing a signature, so like for example, if the parent is dropping the child off directly to you in the morning and they miss their signature, a staff member cannot go in and sign that child in. The parent needs to go back and sign that they signed the child in. And y'all that, again, signing for a parent, that's considered, that frankly, it's considered fraudulent activity or misrepresentation. So, make sure for your CCPP children that it's the parent's signatures, unless, like I said, that it is, like I said, unless it is a situation where you're doing like a school pickup. For those parents who signed their initials for the last 6 months, can we type up a list of all the dates and times the child attended, have the parent sign once the bottom of this page to say they're in agreement that the list is correct. Also that they are signing this page to say they'll agree to sign their full name. I'm going to say no. Our Office of Compliance and our Office of Inspector General, they probably would not accept that. And I do understand that that's going to take some time, but this isn't a new policy. So, I would try to make every effort to get those signatures as soon as possible. What's the deadline to turn in the sheets? As soon as possible. If you have outstanding sheets, sign in, sign out sheets, because that policy went into effect January of this year. So any sign in, sign out sheets from January to present, try to get those uploaded as soon as you can.
And we also have been telling everyone, and I know we've had this discussion, try and see if you can remove any children that is not CCPP to help you so that the file won't be so big if you're having trouble, because we don't need the children that's non-CCPP. So if that helps.
So the question is, what about corrected sheets? Again, as soon as possible. As soon as you can possibly get those corrected sheets. Let me say this, you only have to upload those from January of this year, but now anything previous to January, you still need to get that corrected as soon as you can, just to make sure that you have accurate records. So the other question is, will ProCare signatures be acceptable? Yes, ProCare is a system that we will accept signatures, but again, make sure it's a full digital signature, not the initials. All right, question. Do you have a suggestion on how to budget with financial inconsistencies with the program? If it's going to flip back and forth, do we collect the difference from the parents? Ms. Keys, I don't, when you say flip back and forth, I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Everything that we've talked about, like with the signatures, et cetera, that's been a consistent thing. If you're referring to like, I do recognize that we have reduced the number of families that we have, that we've been able to serve because of funding, et cetera. Frankly, it's not our job, our priority is to serve as many families, as we can. Financial inconsistencies with the program, I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Okay, I've got time for maybe just a couple more questions. What if the parent signs their full name? Um, Jumped up. Let's see. Hang on, my mouse is not cooperating.
I'll read it.
Okay.
What if a parent signs their full name and their first initial of last name or vice versa? The lines on the sign-in sheets are small, so some parents do that.
So Ms. Guthrie, really get the parents to sign their full first and last name. That's just the best way. I hear what you're saying, but just so there's no question, it's really best if they just try to, they can sign as small as they can, or, use a small signature, but we really do need the full first and last name.
Do they check the sheets monthly? Like, is there a certain time frame to get them in before doing our ledger?
It would be a good rule of thumb would be when you upload your ledgers now monthly is to get your sign in and sign out sheets uploaded at the same time. So so when you submit your ledger for the month, go ahead and upload the sign in and sign out sheets also for that month. And let me say that also I know it seems like it seems like some additional work for you, but in the long run, it's going to save you time because, like I said, if for any reason you were to close your center or sell it, you would have to go back and submit a full 3 years worth of sign in, sign out sheets to us. We've had situations where providers did not keep the records for those 3 years, and we've had to go back and recoup that funding. So, just something to think about. When are checks mailed out? So I don't receive them as of yesterday. So we mostly do direct deposit, and we get the direct deposit processed by the 15th. If you are on direct deposit, different banks and different financial institutions have different rules for when direct deposits go out. If you're getting a paper check, it's really just a matter of when the paper checks are mailed out by the 15th, but we have no control over the post office. So, when we do get the checks mailed out on by the 15th, it may be a few more days before you can get it, depending on the center. The claiming of full-time versus part-time in summer or after-school children. So, Ms. Keys, that since we put that policy in place with the enrollment, that's been consistent as far as I know. Um, Starting in June, do we have to send in sign out? So I answered the question about the sign in, sign out sheets. About uploading those each month. All right, last question, and then we're going to wrap it up. Since DHS announced they'll use TANF funding to support the CCPP program, can we expect more certificates to be funded? Thank you for agreeing to do this, Ms. Jackson. We're going to use that funding to support certificates. So we should see a small increase. We did receive we had been getting TANF funding, the transfer already. In addition to that, we are going to get $5 million more in TANF funding, and we're going to use all $5 million of that for certificates. We're not going to use it for any other purposes. All right. Well, that said, y'all, I appreciate y'all being here today. Thank you so much. We are going to have a recording of this session. Posted on our information sharing session webpage in the next few days. So you can all go out there and check that out. Again, thank y'all so much for being here. Thank you for the questions. We will see y'all next time.